Hello everyone, I'm Bets Golden, and today I am playing with Christy Taylor alcohol ink. And I had an idea. I was doing this technique where I use a stencil and I drop alcohol ink and I look up and my video is not recording. So I had another idea. I really like what this stencil looks like after I had dropped some alcohol ink on it. And I'm like, I wonder if I re-wet it, because her alcohol ink is reactive with water, what will happen. So I've laid down some of her regular, it's the Spectra alcohol ink. There's no shimmer in this, it's just pigment. And then I laid down the shimmering ones, and this has a shimmer in it. And I did this all in blues and greens and things like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and just wet my stencil, and let's just see what happens. If this doesn't work, no worries. We will go ahead and drop some ink on it, not going to hurt anything. And then I'm going to put resin over the top of it. But it's important that your alcohol ink is dry in order to do that. So let's see if that worked. It did. That is so cool. So I'm going to just kind of dry that a little bit more, and I might lay it down one more time. And then let me get a paper towel. I'm just going to sop up some of this, get up that excess. I'm kind of liking how that's looking. So I'm going to lay it down one more time. And this time I'm just going to drop a little bit of alcohol ink in random places. So I'll put it off a little bit. Okay. And then I'm just going to go through and just really kind of press it in and see what this does. I'm just playing. This may end up being really ugly. I don't know, but we'll see. So I'm going to drop on the shimmer on this. So I'm going to do some Bass Blue. And I'm going to do some turquoise, which is more green, but hey, I love turquoise. Yeah, now I'm getting in there. And that was actually just the regular. There's no shimmer in that. So I'm going to throw some of this down again. And then I'm going to throw down some, let's do some bright blue in the shimmer. And then let's finish off with some green Gala. Okay. And this is also in the shimmer, so there is some shimmer on this. Then I move my stencil. That's all right. Look how the water reacts with that. Isn't that cool? All right, and then I'm just going to take my paper towel again and just press and kind of lift a little bit up on this. And let's see what we got. Oh, I like it. Okay. We could probably pull another print. I'm going to kind of let that set up, and I'm going to move on and throw some resin down on this other sheet. So the resin that I used is actually, ooh, and when I moved it, it is doing fun things. What if I, okay, I'm not done yet. Sorry guys. What if I put this down and like push it in, the stencil, just push it in, and then put some water, make it react, and then just lift it. Let's see, what does that do? Does it do anything fun? We're playing right now, playing. That does do fun things. Okay. All right, so the resin that I am using is by Amazing Cass, and I got it because it was really cheaper than the resin that Ranger has. And Amazing Cass, I think, is the best resin out there. So I wanted to go ahead and just use that. So I did 2 equal parts of A and B, and you can catch how to do resin on a lot of YouTube channels. I'm not going to get into that just because It's been sitting now. So you have to stir it for 2 to 3 minutes, and then you need to let it sit for about 5 to get all the air bubbles out. Once it sits for about 5, then you're free to lay it out. So I'm going to cover this in this resin. Well, before I do that, I need to cut it down. So like I said, I want this to go on a card front. So I'm going to cut this down to 5 inches by actually 5.25 inches by 4, so it'll fit nicely on a A2 card size. So 5.25, and then we're going to cut it down to 4. So I'm just going to cut that edge off and this edge off. And you know, maybe what we should do is I should put it on the card front first. That way, I don't have to worry about moving it around. Now, this is Christy Taylor has a lot of stuff on her YouTube channel on how to do this technique, like with stencils and things. So make sure you go check it out. I'll link it down below. So for this one, I'm just going to take and glue it onto my card front, and then I'm going to cover this with resin, and it's going to leave a beautiful, it's going to create a beautiful card. So again, I used Yupo paper by Ranger for this technique, and I got this idea from Christy Taylor's YouTube channel. And I have her ink, so that's what these are. They're really cool. They're water reactive and alcohol reactive, which means that cleanup is so simple. I don't have to worry about it staining. It totally comes up. And in fact, I will show you that right now. My fingers are all getting everywhere with it. So I'm going to put this off for just a second, just so you can see how easy it does clean up. This is just with some water. And it just comes up so nice, which is awesome. And this side. But it cleans up beautifully, and that's what I love about it. So whenever you're using her inks, you're going to want to put a sealer on it. Hairspray works. You know, anything like that is great. Or you can just do resin, which is what I'm going to do right now. And then you want to let your resin sit and dry and cure for at least 10 hours. It can take longer depending on the humidity or dryness and the weather in your area. So to keep that in mind, and then I'm going to take a baby wipe up my hands, and this is the card that we're going to put it on. We're going to do resin on that card, which I think is going to be super cool. Again, I need to make sure that that's dry. And I think that that's fairly dry. And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and just take that resin and just dump it on. And I just want a really thin coating on this. And again, I have about a 40-minute work window on this. So just keep that in mind when you're working, and it is self-leveling. So I'm just taking and spreading it out with my popsicle stick. It's just going to create a really cool glass finish. And if you want to know how to use resin, I'm a novice. I just learned. This is like the first day I've used it. I've used it on a couple different things so far. But you can find that on YouTube, and if you guys want, I can show you as well. But it's super important that you get your A and B, you know, the A and B has to be equal. And once they're equal, you have to mix it up really well for about 2 to 3 minutes. Make sure that you scrape the edges in the bottom, and then let it set up to get all the air bubbles out. Okay, so I'm really liking how this is looking so far. I think this is going to be cool, and I'll do some close-up pictures at the end too so you can see. And actually I'll put it on my blog, so head over to my blog to see what this looks like when it's all done. Okay, so from here I'm actually going to drop some more alcohol ink on top of this. I think that that will be fun. So I'm going to use some purple and silver. Actually, I'm going to use some purple and gold. So you can drop it directly on top of resin. That totally works. Just want to make sure you shake, shake, shake. Get all of that beautiful shimmer throughout. And then we're just going to take and just drop in a couple areas. And it'll spread and really interact with that. So some gold. And it's just really kind of a cool effect. So since I did the purple, I'm going to go in with bright blue. And the white is heavy, so it'll really move it around. If you want to lighten it up, you can throw white on. So I'm not going to use the white with a sparkle in it. I'm just going to use the highly pigmented white. This will really move it around. And I don't care that it's splashing everywhere. That's part of the fun. So I'm loving how this is looking. I'll finish off with some more gold, and then I'll leave it alone, I promise. Okay, so this is going to move around as it dries and get even more personality to it. So I'm going to just let this sit up right now, and I'll check back with you tomorrow when it's had time to cure. But for you, that's nothing, because I'm going to be right back right now. This has had about 18 hours to set up, and I have to tell you that I was playing with some resin, some other resin, and the thicker the resin is, the longer it takes to set up. But this was a thin coat, so it set up really quickly, and I ended up cutting it off of that first card base, and I mounted it to this black. But you can get a little bit of bend to it, and I really like how it looks. It's like the bottom layer comes through, and then the alcohol ink that we laid on top of the resin that we put over it is dispensed and held there. And then I just took a die cut and did a simple hugs. The cardstock I'm using, you guys, is from cutcardstock.com. They have the best prices around with a huge selection and excellent customer service. Their shipping isn't bad either, which is kind of hard to find sometimes with cardstock. And then I just did a simple sentiment for the inside. Be excited for all the good things to come. This is actually the close to my heart January stamp of the month. I really, really like it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. Feel free to share this. I love it when you guys share content that you enjoy. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I hope you do so. Until next time, I'm Betsgolden.